G'day traders, Stacey Burke from Stacey Burke Trading. Today going over the levels for the British pound crosses. It's Wednesday, April 1st, and as you can see we have a couple of scheduled major news releases. The non-farm employment tonight, 8:15 New York Eastern Standard Time, and the ISM manufacturing PMI also 10 o'clock New York Eastern Standard Time. Just a reminder, we are headed into a payrolls Friday, and we may see some of the pairs building into sideways into squeezes for big moves as we head into payrolls and coronavirus and possible indexes retesting of their lows. I've had a bit of stability the last few days, but nothing really ever turns around on one bounce typically. So today, just going over, starting with the pound Aussie. Again, some of the traders took part of the big move yesterday. A 4-hour chart gave us a tweezers, twin hammers off the bottom. Some traders picked that move up on the 15-minute for a very good move up. We've just come off of the upper high from last Friday, but also that upper 250 pip box, 250 maybe acting as a selling area. And again, there's lots of space to fill on the downside towards that 2000 area on the 4-hour. So far today, we've had, if we go back and just look at Friday, Monday, Tuesday, we're up at Friday's highs. We came down yesterday, took out Friday's low, and then reversed strongly up to the high from Monday. We've put in a 3 thrust pattern and then dropped down and gone sideways. We've had that 1 push, 2 push, 3 push retest today. That may be the weakness showing, and then the retest and the rollover. I've just put in my measuring tool. If that was to roll over and break down, this market has lots of room to fall. As I mentioned, that 2000 area on the 4-hour chart is still lots of space. Today, just looking at our levels, the market has traded underneath of that peak formation. Initially we retested that and dropped down and gone sideways, and we're currently testing that 200 upper box, and depending on how that market holds up, we're still inside of the redrawn high and low. The first low in Asia, the market's pulling off of that right now. We're obviously inside the traders initial hour. Some of these patterns may be different depending on your broker feed. It's an aggregate, so some of these charts may be a little bit different. I've got a low, an initial low of the day set by the brokers down just above that 150 area, but the Asian low is in this area. We're currently testing that. We've had 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes, depending on how this market, if it was to squeeze and drop down, we could see the market retest down towards yesterday's breakout traders. So currently we're inside of that peak formation from yesterday. Just a little leery trading, counter trending that unless we saw a clean break above that 200 level, an outside structure, and possibly a retest of the highs. Again, that lower 2000 area is definitely open to retest. There's lots of space here. We got profitable traders in from yesterday, and of course Tuesday's low. This is the 15-minute chart. I had a couple people ask just to mention 4-hour versus the 15-minute. Pound Aussie. Next pair we're going to go over is the pound Canadian. So again, we had a very strong uptrend on that 4-hour. We went to that upper box yesterday. As we said, that market had a lot of juice. We may have a top in place. We had a 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes that pinned the high. It's come back since and pulled underneath of that 7,500 area that we talked about potentially being support or resistance. The look on the 15-minute chart, we possibly do have a peak formation in, and I've put my measuring tool on there. This market possibly has the potential to do what's called a straightaway, where we consolidate underneath that peak formation. If it was to break that low, it has room to retest all the way down to 70.60. Now again, no predictions. We're just monitoring how that market behaves around the high and the low. So far in this tight consolidation underneath of last night's breakdown from that 7,500 area, again, I'd be looking possibly for consolidation, a sell high for a possible measured move down, retesting Monday's low and a measured move of that peak formation. Again, that's the 15-minute chart. Next up is the pound Swiss. And again, as the other pairs, a 4-hour chart, we took out the high from a few weeks ago, and the market pinned up to that upper 250 pip box. We're still inside of that rising trend line, but the market has pulled back inside. We have an engulfment at the peak. The market is squeezed up into that upper corner. On our 15-minute chart, that market again is respecting that rising trend line, but we broke out of Monday's high yesterday, pulled back, retested, gave us a sloping double top formation, which the market retested this morning and dropped down. We've gone sideways and we're squeezed into this peak between the low of the day and the peak from this morning. Again, very tricky area. Depending on how this market handles all that, we could see this market break down, retest, and retest Monday's low of the week. Again, I'd wait for the market to give us something where it breaks out of that area of congestion. We got a micro trend line, we've got a redrawn high of the day and a low of the day. Right now, I would wait until that market gives us some kind of clear directional move. Next up, we have the pound yen. Our 4-hour chart, we talked about this yesterday, that market squeezed up into that corner. And I said the longer that market stays up in that corner, the less likely it is to break out. We've had 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes into that peak, an engulfment formation and sideways price action breaking that rising trend line. I wouldn't be surprised if that market was to retest that lower 250 pip box or even the breakout from last week down at 3,200. Our 15-minute chart yesterday was an inside day. Traders that traded the breakout of the inside day, you can see last night again, some traders have asked about 3 push patterns. There's an example again, 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes to the peak, and then the reversal. They've triggered breakout traders on that inside day. A lot of those traders would have stops underneath of Monday's low, and today may have moved those underneath of Tuesday's low. You can see that we're sort of below that 50% area of that range. If I was to bring my measuring tool up, we're underneath 50% of that inside bar. The logical place for this possibly to head is to hit the stops below Monday's bar. So inside bar traders are in. We're at a possible peak formation on Friday. Trading underneath of that, underneath 50% of the inside bar, we may see this market again, similar to the other pairs, consolidate and retest the low of Monday. Again, that 50 area, just to highlight, that 50 area could act as a resistance area for a sell high if the market fails to retest that upper part of the box. Our next pair is the pound New Zealand. And again, some traders messaged me. They took part in that huge move up yesterday. And again, you can see on the 4-hour chart, there was an engulfment off the numbers, blowing through the highs. We had a nice clean 1, 2, 3 to the high, an engulfment sideways, and now that bear hammer possibly retesting that upper 750 boundary. On the 15-minute chart, interesting, we have a 1, 2, 3 to the high last night, engulfment, stop hunt low, and then a 1, 2, 3 this morning, forming a symmetrical triangle and a breakout and consolidation similar to the pound Aussie. That market's consolidating underneath of a possible peak formation and a 3 thrust pattern. This market is also a possible candidate for a consolidation and a measured move, even possibly down if this market was to roll over to retest somewhere in that 600 area, and even possibly stop hunt traders who were on the breakout somewhere in that 550 to 500 area. Again, not predicting. The market is just poised. We've already had this 3 peaks put in. That market could certainly still break high and retest the highs, but this consolidation underneath of that 3 thrust pattern inside of a peak formation last night this market could, and inside the micro trend line, could still give us a nice consolidation for a straightaway trade to the downside. Just be careful if you do take longs. This market could certainly go strongly long after yesterday, but that could be the trap. And if you're counter trading the peak formation and this does go into a straightaway trade, that market will move very strongly and not come back. And lastly, our pound. Again, we were in the upper 250 pip box underneath of 2,500. The market struggled to show a lot of strength, retesting the high. 1, 2, 3 sideways inside bar, dropping down this morning. Rising trend line is still intact. That 2250 area could be a possible area of support. We see a similar pattern to the other pairs where that strength has now sort of dried up a little bit. We had a peak formation put in last night, then a retest that was weak, and another smaller retest inside of that peak before dropping down. We've dropped underneath of that swing low that formed earlier this morning. We do have a falling micro trend line, possible descending triangle setting up. Again, similar to the other pairs, if this market failed to break out on top and retest those highs, if it was squeezed in here, we could certainly see that drop down, retest, and go for a measured move to the downside. Again, with any of this, there's no recommendations, just the scenarios for how this market may play out. But if we do see these markets move down to the downside, these measuring distances could certainly show up and give traders an opportunity for an asymmetrical risk reward of better than 2 or 3 to 1. So hopefully you got some value out of today's video, traders. Could be a very interesting day today. We have some news later tonight, but again, payrolls on Friday. We've had some big moves, and today could be the same. So just closing, a little message from Peter Brand. If you're not following Peter on Twitter, I thought his one of his recent tweets was great. It sums up trading. Realities of a trader. Losing money makes us feel inadequate. Making money but never enough makes us feel inadequate. Being on the sidelines makes us feel inadequate. A purpose of the market is to make us feel inadequate. Welcome to the life I've lived for 45 years. So stay disciplined, traders. Make tradable an enjoyable experience. In the words of Paul Tudor Jones, have a great trading day, and may the markets go with you.
Hi traders, it's Stacey Burke from Stacey Burke Trading. If you haven't done so, please head over to my website at staceyburketrading.com. I create updates on almost a daily basis, and I would love for you to receive them. Just click on the blog. If you want to enter your name and your email address, I'll send you my free audio program, the 7-Step Daily Routine for High Performance Traders. This is essential knowledge for all traders in all markets, and this is for helping traders to master the market with discipline, confidence, and a winning mindset. I appreciate all your feedback and comments. As always, traders, stay disciplined, and may the markets go with you.